Looking forward to racing in the Eastern Cape on Friday, as it will be the first leg of the World Sports Betting Poly Challenge, and it always really attracts a strong field. This week is no different, and the opening leg over 1200 is a really smart field. Before we get there though, we start off in race 1, which is a maiden plate for the fillies and mares over 1200, and here number 1 Emerald Flow will be my pick for the win. She really caught the eye with a good second behind Atkinson Grinshaw last time out over a very similar trip on the Poly. That was the 1300. It's the 12 today. She is back to same-sex company, and I do think that she's got a strong winning chance. Probably the horse that looks like her main danger is number 4 Cucosis from the Graveyard. Considering the fact that she's had 5 runs for 5 places, she's really knocking hard at leaving the maidens and will make Emerald Flow work. Number 5 Showtime Baby is also a horse that I think can get involved. Her recent starts have seen her showing good improvement, 3rd and 4th respectively in her latest starts, and she'll be thereabouts again. Race 2 is another maiden plate for the fillies and mares, and this will be a slight step up and trip to the 1600. And here 1, 3 and 2 are my numbers of interest. Corsage will have her first start for Cliffy Miller, his very first run in the Eastern Cape, so a big welcome to him. And she can be a big runner herself. I do think that she could get him off to winning ways here with a good 4th last time out in Natal. She is familiar with the Poly, and if she can bring that type of form here, she's definitely going to be a contender. Number 3 Sienna is coming along the right way. I do think that improving steadily, you should expect her to be able to give a bit of cheek. And number 2 Far Out, I think disregard her last. She's better than that. The yard are expecting improvement on the Poly, and being by Shawi's, I think it could be forthcoming, so factor her in. Race 3, 1, 2 and 5 in a merit rated 68 handicap. I do think this is a very hard race, and there are a number of horses with chances. They'll also be racing over the mile, and I'm leading with number 1 Mary Lee. Originally top weight, it has been brought down with the claiming of Julius Mapanya. She is a horse that is very well suited to course and distance, and though up against male opposition, I do believe can make her presence felt. Number 2 Precious Stone. His last wasn't his best, but I do feel that was a very false-paced race. And if we disregard that and have a look at his prior runs behind Seltless and Mojito Magic, they definitely catch the eye. The question mark is the mile trip. Does he get it? But I do think on those 2 prior performances, he deserves the benefit of the doubt. Number 5, Fool's Power, is another horse I think needs to get taken into consideration here. Another runner from the Cliffy Miller stable making his way down from Natal, where he was holding some very useful and capable form. I would factor him in. Next up is race 4, and here they are up to the 1900 meter distance in a maiden plate. It is an open maiden plate here, and the 2 runners that really do stand out in the lineup are numbers 1 and 2 Pacific Duke and Inner Space. I had a hard time separating them and have elected to go with Pacific Duke because I do feel that he is already proven on the Poly, and his run over 2,200 last time out really suggested he's going to enjoy the fact that they cut back and trip here, as he was just run down in his last when going down 0.1 of a length to Super Noir. I do think there was a lot to like about number 2 Inner Space's last run though. He had nothing go his way. After being slow away, he was wide throughout. He still was forced to switch for a run late and still ran second. So a lot to like about both those horses, and they do look to be the main contenders in race 4. As far as that 3rd placing goes, I look towards one of the female contenders in the way of number 10 Billy Ann. That last run wasn't her best, but it was on turf. She has shown to be quite competent on Poly and always knocking. I do think she looks a trifecta and quartet inclusion. Race 5, merit rated 73 handicap, staying over that 1900 meter trip. Numbers here for me are 4, 5 and 1 in what looks to be another very open field. Nijinsky's Sun is better than that last run suggests, and as his prior form does prove, it is best disregarded. So Nijinsky's Sun, hoping he bounces back to best here. He does have winning ability. Number 5, Ancient Times. He's been a little bit deceptive. He was quite an ordinary maiden with all due respect, but perhaps just needed that time to mature. Now over some distance is starting to find his feet, because his post maiden in really tough company, up in class, was a decent one when finishing just 4 lengths off of Tiger in the Sun. So factor him in, he looks to be coming along the right way. Number 1, Bush Fever, is another one who's holding some steady form since making his way to the Eastern Cape. He's really proved quite versatile on both poly and grass and is a regular earner, so I do think he'll be about the action again. Race 6 next up is over the sprinting trip, 1,000 meters. It's a Phillies and Mays 66 handicap. Numbers here 3, 4 and 2. Lady Catherine is a horse of great interest as she debuts locally in the Eastern Cape for the Taralang Yard off what looks to be really competitive Cape form, and we all know Cape form has to be respected in the Eastern Cape. Though she debuts on the poly, that form really does make a lot of appeal, and as does her speed. Her speed suggests she's going to really enjoy being introduced to the quick track. So Lady Catherine, a runner of interest. I do think that number 4, Valeriana, is doing everything right at the moment and races off the back of 2 decent runs over 1,200 when actually at her best over 1,000. So expect a bit more from her. She'll be giving some cheek. Number 2, Lumiere, is in good form. Her run last time out, when 3rd, was off the back of her 2nd career victory. She's a speedy sort, holding form, and should be there again. Race 7 is our headline of the day. Of course, the World Sports Betting East Cape Poly Challenge Leg 1 over the sprinting trip of 1,200 meters. Non-black type event, always draws a stellar field and has once again done so. I will say number 1, Viking Moon, catches my attention, and I am tipping him ahead of number 3, Sullenberger, and 2, Earth Hour. Viking Moon, his credits over sprinting trips of recent are lengthy, and he races off a hat-trick of victories, which so far has made him a standout sprinter at this point in time in Port Elizabeth. So he does look the horse to beat, especially as far as the weights are concerned. Number 3, Sullenberger, has his first run for his new yard. In his last, he did well to score non-black type himself when winning the Fairview Merchants with a good turn of foot late over 1,000. Considering he probably is expected to be better over 12, that makes him a very interesting runner today. He's not badly off at the weights, and he should be knocking. Number 2, Earth Hour, this is definitely on the sharp side for him, and we will see more of him in the upcoming legs. But he's a horse that runs with heart, he's a horse that's in solid form, and as such, I do think he is a horse to be respected. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the placings. Race 8, last of the day, is a Phillies and Mays 72 over the 1,300 meter trip. These are always competitive races. I have elected to go with number 11, a Mesmerizing Moon, to beat the likes of number 3, Linda Loves Lace, her stable companion, and number 5, Beneficiary. Mesmerizing Moon, her form is self-explanatory. She has been holding form very well in her 3 starts out the Maidens, knocking on the door for that 2nd win, and though drawn a little bit wide here, must have good claims. Her stable companion, number 3, Linda Loves Lace, has really regained form well of late, and she's also holding some very capable recent results. So having notched up her 3rd career victory last time out, if she can hold form up in the weights, she'll be there again. Likewise, number 5, Beneficiary. We're really dealing with some horses that are in steady form at the moment, and Beneficiary is another who's running in the type of form that should see her in the shake-up. As far as the PA is concerned, that will kick off in race 2, and I have elected to go with 3 runners in the first leg of the PA. They are all my first 3 selections, and in numerical order, number 1, Corsage, 2, Far Out, and 3, Sienna will be in the first leg for me. As far as leg 2 is concerned, I did think this was a very hard race. I have gone a little bit wider. I've gone in with 4 horses here, and all of number 1, Mary Lee, who is my first selection, followed by number 2, Precious Stone, 3, Baltic Beat, and 5, Phil's Power goes in. I've discussed 3 of them. The horse left out there is number 3, Baltic Beat. I do think he's going to enjoy being up to the mile trip, and in steady form, we should see a bit of him in this race. As far as race 4 and leg 3 of the PA is concerned, I do think that number 1, Pacific Duke, is a worthy banker. I do think Inner Space is one that he needs to respect, but as far as those first 3 placings are concerned, I would be very disappointed if Pacific Duke wasn't in the first 3. So I think he'll be fine as a banker in race 4. On to race 5, another very open field, and as such I have gone in with 4 selections here, all of number 1, Bush Fever, number 4, Nijinsky Sun, 5, Ancient Times, and 6, Super Noir. Leg 5, and here Two horses do stand out for me, and that is newcomer number 3, Lady Catherine, as mentioned, having her first start from Cape Town form. It really makes appeal, as does her speed. I think she'll be in the mix. Number 4, Valeriana, also strikes me as being a very strong contender in this race. So those two selections go through for me in race 6, leg 5 of the PA. Viking Moon meets a really strong field in our World Sports Betting East Cape Poly Challenge, which is leg 6 of the PA, but I do think that he is a talented sort, and at this point in time at the weights and in the form he's running to, he is the horse they have to beat, and he will be a banker for me. Rounding up, last of the afternoon, and the 3 selections I have put through in the last leg of the PA are number 3, Linda Loves Lace, number 5, Beneficiary, and number 11, Mesmerizing Moon. Next up will be the pick 6, and that gets started with my very, very hard race, which is race 3, the merit rated 68 handicap, where I think a number of horses have chances. As such, I have gone very wide in the first leg of the pick 6. I have included 8 horses, all of 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. So very wide in that first leg, but I do think it is an open field. On to the next, and again, Pacific Duke and Inner Space. These are the horses that grab my attention. I do feel that they should be good enough to be well covered in race 4 with just those 2 entries. So horses 1 and 2 will do it for me in race 4. Race 5, to me, another leg where a couple have the form to get involved, and I have included all of 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 13 to try and cover all those bases. Moving on to race 6, leg 4 of the pick 6, and the Phillies sprint. There are a couple that could cause upsets, so while I have a lot of respect for the standout horses Lady Catherine and Valeriana, we have to realize this is going to be a very speedy race. Both of those fillies are horses that like to go to the front, and they come from wide draws. There's 1 or 2 that are drawn even wider than them, still with some pace, and it really could throw a spanner in the works. So in case of possible upsets in the race, horses like number 1, Storyland, if she bounces back to best, she's got the ability to cause an upset. Number 2, Lumiere, is in form and must be respected. And then a horse like number 6, Natural Jade, she's speedy and got an inside draw. This could work to her advantage, so she's an inclusion for me as well. So all of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 go in. Viking Moon, as mentioned a bit earlier, my banker, he does stand out for me, both form, ability, and the weights. I think that he'll be able to pull it through for us. And then last of the day, go a little bit wider again. I do think main players are Mesmerizing Moon, Linda Loves Lace, and Beneficiary, but over and above, I will include the likes of number 9. And that is Cherry Pop, who I do think is a lot better than that last run. She did have relevant excuses. And all of 12 and 13 as well. Elusive Diva, a steady performer, and Nubal, another horse that is better than her last. Jackpot, and I'll be looking to cover a few bases here in the first leg of the jackpot. Again, I think that Pacific Duke and Inner Space are good enough to carry us through, so I'm sticking with that. As far as race 5 is concerned, I have elected to go field and play for an upset there, and that covers race 6 as well. So races 5 and 6, field, 13 runners in each there. I'll stick with my banker of Viking Moon, and that will be a wrap of the jackpot. So I'm starting light, I'm ending light, and I'm really covering in between. As far as my best bet of the day is concerned, I have elected to go with 2 best bets today instead of a best and a value, and I do think that in race 1, number 1, Emerald Flow, is a horse that stands out to me as having a really decent chance, so she'll be my first best bet. As you've seen through my perms, Viking Moon is another horse that really catches me. That is race 7, number 1, and he will be my second best bet of the day. Well, that's a wrap of how I think things are going to play out in the Eastern Cape. Got to cross fingers. It was quite a hard meeting on Monday, hoping to recoup some losses here. Have a good day's racing.